The Chicago Bears head to Detroit for their final road game of the season. Who's going to win? Watch this video to find out. What's going on, guys? I'm back with another Chicago Bears pregame prediction video, which I'll be doing for every single Bears game this year and also in future years too. I know this year is almost over now, but if you guys want my reaction to every Bears game, my thoughts before each Bears game, definitely be sure to subscribe to my channel. It's been a very rough year for us Bears fans, but it is almost over. Okay, only 2 more games until this terrible season is over, and there's a lot of, light at the end of the tunnel, right? Because we're going to be having a very high draft pick at the end of this year. If we just lose now the remaining 2 games, even if we win one by accident, we're still having a top 5 draft pick. If we win both, we're actually having a, I think, seventh overall pick at worst. So preferably at this point, I think a lot of Bears fans honestly are just hoping the Bears lose out, okay? Which I know that's not like, you don't ever want to root for a Bears loss explicitly. Like, I hope the players do well. I hope that Justin Fields plays well, and you can still hope, though, that the Bears maybe lose in a close game, because at this point, it just does not benefit the Bears whatsoever to win these games. I'm sorry, like, it's not going to provide you with a morale boost at the end of this year when half of these players are not going to be on the team next year, right? So it's a very tough situation to be in, right? Because, again, I don't want to ever root for a Bears loss, but there's so much, long-term benefits that are going to be coming to our franchise if we lose out the remaining 2 games, right? Because getting the number 2 overall pick in the draft would be absolutely huge. And not only that, we could even get the number 1 overall pick if the Texans win one of their final 2 games, which it definitely could, okay, with how good they've been playing as of late. Now, obviously, with all that said, the coaches and the players are not going to be tanking, okay? These players are going to be fighting for their lives in the NFL, right? Because your job in the NFL is never guaranteed. And obviously, these players want to put on, a good performance for the other teams in the league, okay, if they're not going to be on this team next year, right? So I'm not expecting the Bears to go out there and just outright tank, right? But, a lot of Bears fans, I think at this point, would be maybe preferring a loss just for the future benefits that loss would give us. Now, if the Bears do win, I'm not going to be like crazy mad about that, but I don't know. It's just such a tough thing to talk about, right? Because at this point, I really do think that tanking might be a benefit to the team. But talking about this game, guys, let me briefly analyze this matchup. It's not going to be a very long video because this game really only matters for one team, the Lions, okay? Because the Lions are still fighting for a playoff berth. The Lions actually have a chance to make the playoffs if they win their final 2 remaining games. But they blew the last game against the Panthers in embarrassing fashion. So this is still the Lions, okay? Sometimes the Lions can play down to their opponent's levels or just not win a must-win game, because that's what they've been doing the last, 20 years, okay? The Lions have not had much playoff success in my lifetime, obviously, just like my Bears have not had much playoff success, but the Lions have had even less playoff success than our Chicago Bears. So even though it's a must-win game for the Lions, don't count them out to do Lions stuff like they sometimes do in the past and somehow lose this game. But I do think the Lions definitely have the edge in this matchup, because if you look at their team, they're a better roster all across the board, especially on the offense, right? The Lions offense is ranked number 5 in points scored per game, number 4 in yards gained per game. They have a very smart offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, who's doing a really good job with Jared Goff and all the weapons they have. Now, Jameson Williams actually came back from his injury recently, but he's not been a major factor in this offense just yet. But he could be in this game against the Bears, because the Bears secondary is completely depleted, okay? We don't have Jalen Johnson. We don't have Eddie Jackson. Kendall Vildor also is out for the year. And, obviously our backups have been playing pretty well, though. Like, guys like Josh Blackwell, guys like Jalen Jones have been holding their own for the most part. But against the, core receivers this talented, I think the Lions' talent will win out in this game. So I do expect their offense to put a lot of points on the board against us, because, again, we don't have a pass rush either, right? And that's the one key to stopping Jared Goff. You need a pass rush. You need a guy to get into his face immediately, right? Because if you just let him sit there in the pocket, he's going to be pretty accurate with the football, because he's good enough of a quarterback, to be an accurate pocket passer. He's not going to create by himself if the pocket collapses, but if he does have a pocket, like he will in this game, he's going to put together a lot of points, okay? So Lions offense is scary right now. It's a really good offense. Talking about their defense, it's definitely not scary, okay? They have been playing better, though, as of late, I will say. Didn't play really well against the Panthers, but for the most part, down the stretch, they have been a better defense, but they still rank number 32 in points allowed and number 32 in yards allowed as well, okay? Number 30 passing defense and number 28 run defense. Now, Aiden Hutchinson has been a pretty good draft pick for them. Obviously, number 2 overall. He has a bunch of pressures and a bunch of sacks too this year. He's providing pressure for the Lions on a pretty consistent basis. He had a good game last matchup against the Bears as well. So keep a lookout for Aiden Hutchinson. They have young guys like Jeff Okuda also stepping up, and Kirby Joseph too, the former Illini. I'm actually a big fan of him, and he's been making a lot of plays for the Lions defense on the back end. So the Lions defense still isn't good per se, but still a much better defense now than it was, a couple months ago, right? So still, could be a problem for the Bears offense to deal with, simply because, again, the Bears are missing so many guys on the offense. And talking about the Bears offense now, they're missing a lot of guys. Okay, Chase Claypool maybe will not play. He's been limited the entire week. Equanimeous St. Brown is also on concussion protocol. Dante Pettis got injured yesterday in practice, so he's not going to be playing. We have guys on the O-line that have been out. Obviously, Lucas Patrick has not played for a long time, but like Michael Schofield, I believe, got injured. I'm not sure if he's going to be back for this game, but regardless, I think that Tevin Jenkins and Cody Whitehair will be back for this game, which would be pretty big. Don't quote me on that though. I'll have to check the Friday injury report. It's not out yet when I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Thursday night, but we have a lot of guys out. Okay, so for a Bears offense, it already was not good to begin with this year. Like, we had a stretch of really good offensive play, but like that was kind of unsustainable, right? Because most of it was from Justin Fields just running with the football and doing crazy things by himself. We don't have the playmakers or the offensive line to complement him in the passing attack, okay? Even though Justin Fields as a passer has improved big time, I would say, throughout the course of this year, okay? He's turning the ball over less. He's being more accurate with the football, higher completion percentage. He's, making big plays happen down the field every once in a while, but like, he just does not have the surrounding pieces, like I've been saying the entire year, to be very, very successful in passing the football. And I really have the question, like, is he going to run with the football a lot in this game? Because the last couple of games with the Bears, he has not been running as much as he did earlier this year, okay? The last game against the Bills, he only had a couple carries and didn't do much with those carries. Okay, ever since the injury against the Falcons, he's definitely been running a lot less than he was earlier this year. Now, against the Eagles, he still had a good amount of rushing yards, but again, most of those rushing yards came on one big time run. Okay, so he's not doing like as many QB power runs, as many QB draws as he was earlier. Okay, so Luke Getsy maybe is trying to preserve him for next year, which I would agree with, right? Like, I don't want to kill him before next year. Okay, you want to see this guy healthy going into a better situation next year, but it's going to be hard to move the football if we don't have the threat of Justin Fields running as much as we usually did. Now, the Lions defense still is ranked 32nd in the NFL, so you should still be able to pass decently in this game, but I'm not going to kill Justin Fields if he doesn't have like over 200 passing yards, again, because he's throwing to Nasimba Webster, Byron Pringle, Velus Jones, which Velus actually had a good game last game, so maybe he builds on that, but it's just not a good group of receivers, so you can't expect the Bears offense to do too much. But getting to my prediction then, guys, I'll be brief and short with this. I have the Lions winning by a score of 34-24 to give the Bears their, I think it would be 13th loss of the year. And like I mentioned at the beginning, guys, I think a lot of Bears fans will be totally okay with the loss, because the loss brings us a lot of long-term payoff. Okay, if we do get the number 2 overall pick, or maybe even the number 1 overall pick, would be really, really nice, okay, to trade out of and just get a franchise-changing haul, okay, that could jumpstart this rebuild and give Poles a lot to work with in terms of draft capital. If he wants future picks, if he wants current picks next year, you could trade those picks for a star player, maybe like a Devontae Adams. Okay, if Devontae Adams wants out of Las Vegas because Derek Carr is most likely getting traded, I'm being way ahead of myself right now by talking about Derek Carr, by talking about Devontae Adams getting traded, but like, I'm just saying that the options for this offseason grow significantly if you do have that number 2 or number 1 overall pick, because a lot of teams are going to covet those picks. So the Lions, obviously being a better roster than us, I think they beat us at the end by probably like 10 points or something like that. It could be an even bigger margin of victory, okay, if they actually play to their strengths, okay, if the Lions actually play as good as they are capable of playing. But being the Detroit Lions and, going up against Justin Fields, a very motivated guy, a guy that played really well against the Lions the last 2 times, I would say it could still be a relatively close game, and Justin Fields could keep us in this game simply because of his ability and because of the Lions not maybe taking us as seriously as they should take us. But the Lions should win in the end, okay? They have the playoffs on the line. And as for my offense MVP, I'm going to go with Justin Fields. Obviously, as for my defense MVP, I'm going to go with Josh Blackwell, okay? The UDFA, who's been playing really well as of late, okay? Maybe he gets a pick to give our defense a good takeaway. But That's the end of the video, guys. Leave your comments down below. What do you guys think is going to happen in this game? I hope you guys all have a happy new year and a happy holidays. And thank you for all the support on this channel the last year, even though it's been a very rough year for the Bears. I appreciate all you guys watching my videos and still tuning in every week. Appreciate all your support. As always, bear down.